started off taking a bunch of business classes at Northeastern and hated it.
Yeah.
It cut every third class.
Yeah.
I started to take art classes and never cut another class.
Okay, Jack Haran, happy you could come in, visit us, join us, sit down.
Glad to be here.
So obviously I've known, quite a connection. We were on the board together at North River. I think that I was thinking about it this morning, and I think that was about 15 years ago, because I feel like Maya was born during during my stint there.
Sure.
And so are you still on the board at North River?
No, I stepped down 2 years ago. After 30 years.
30 years?
I figured I'd let some of the younger people with new ideas and stuff
come in.
And
you were the president there for a stint?
For 2 years.
2 years. And you were the president at the New England Watercolor Society as well?
Right afterwards.
So one to the next?
2011 and 12 at North River, and then 12, 13, I think 14 at New England Watercolor Society.
Are you still on the board at the Watercolor Society?
No, I stepped down off of that too.
Okay.
That's back when my wife got sick and kind of backed off on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you're still pretty active in both groups?
Yep.
And then you're doing most of your teaching at South Shore?
South Shore, yeah.
And you have coincidentally, you have a show coming up there.
I do. That's opening tomorrow night, Thursday, the 18th. It's 6 to 8.
6 to 8.
Come on.
Well, yeah, and that's they're opening that one the same night as the Blue Ribbon Show too. So
we're expecting a good-sized crowd.
Nice.
I sent emails out and posted it on Facebook and Instagram, so to let my friends know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I think the Blue Ribbon Show usually has a nice turnout, so that's probably a good idea that they kind of keep them going together.
It's a member show, so that gets virtually all of the members involved.
Yeah.
And so it can be over 100 people, I would say.
Oh, yeah. I would imagine there'll be a good turnout there. People want to show up, see who got those awards, right?
Yeah.
I got the cheat sheet. Already looking it over, seeing what's going to be on display there. I was noticing a lot of figure work as well as the watercolors. Is there one you like better, or do they kind of go together?
No, they do go together. But I've done figure work since early 70s, 71, 72, doing figure classes at school, and then I ran the open figure drawing class at North River for 13 or 14 years before I turned it over to Carl Nesselberg, and then he ran it for a bunch of years too. So, and I participated virtually all of those years, I think.
Yeah.
So, essentially, the thing that I've done the most of my entire life, my artistic life, is figure drawing.
Yeah.
So actually doing portraits of the figure in watercolor is a natural progression.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
You do. Now, just from from the standpoint of someone that collects art and buys art, sometimes figures aren't necessarily the most appealing thing to buy, right? Because it's somebody you don't necessarily know, opposed to like some of the landscape shots that might strike more of a chord. Do you find like you sell a lot of the figures, or?
No. but I enjoy doing them.
Yeah.
It's the challenge to try to get an accurate depiction of somebody's face or somebody's figure. The pieces that I have in this show opening tomorrow night are all very good, accurate. The figure work are all very accurate depictions of the people. So I've often thought that maybe I should have a little photograph of the actual person, alongside of the painting.
To show how accurate they are. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I kind of view it as feeding my ego.
Yeah.
And that's, really enjoyed the figure work.
Yep. Or now, are some of those models the same people that, you know, when you're working in a group, is it when you're setting up the like a figure class, is it tough to find the models to, you know, say you're turning through a bunch of different people, or do you have like a regular routine that?
Well, when I was doing it,
Yep.
yeah, we had the same 15, 20 people that we used and would kind of cycle through them.
Yep.
Now that I'm doing the Zoom sessions with Paul Schulenberg,
Yep.
he brings them in, and he finds interesting people. Some of them are actresses,
Yep.
Poets, some of the people from down the Cape.
Mm-hmm.
The Alpha,
Mm-hmm.
she's an actress.
Yep.
I don't have one of. I'm not showing Kathleen Garrett, but she's an actress that has posed for.
Yep.
Posed for us.
Now, do you like the challenge of the people being different and you haven't seen them before, or is it like if you've seen someone and they've come in before and you've kind of like figured out a technique to, like, you know, really nail their nose, like get their nose accurate, or
Nope.
facial features? No.
No, it's the same challenge
Every time.
Every time.
Yep.
When I draw, and of course before I paint, I draw.
Yeah.
In light, you know, the same. I always have my pencil.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I think, a 4B, and I don't draw too heavily.
Mm-hmm.
But as I'm drawing, I'm always measuring. As
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing the nose, it's where is it in relation to the eyes and the ears. And,
Yep.
and just so always measuring something against something else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in effect the challenge, and it's different every single
Time. Yeah. Different angle on the, like how you're sitting. Yeah. Probably changes everything up too.
Yep.
The dogs come to the
No.
so those don't not seeing off camera. We got a couple visitors with us as well. You'll probably hear them, but
Today's the day the cleaning ladies come in,
Yeah.
so I have to leave the house with them.
they
And
got the invite.
and it's too hot for them to sit in the car. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. We're dog friendly here at the Frame Center. We have bandanas. We'll probably find them a couple bandanas before they get out of here that we like to hand out to dogs. So.
and they are good girls.
Yeah, no, very good. My two are a little bit more, out of control when they're running around here. So this is another one. I'm glad you brought this one. This was one of my favorites of your works. Just that exhibit that was in New York. That's Central Park, right?
Yeah, Christo's Gates in Central Park.
Mm-hmm.
When I met my wife back in '61, she was living in New York, teaching in New
Yep.
York. So I'd go down to visit. And one of the weekends I was down visiting, we went in to see the gates.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the wintertime, and I took a bunch of photos and did this painting from one of the photos.
Mm-hmm.
And this painting was good enough to get into last year's American Watercolor Society exhibit,
Mm-hmm.
and is extremely well framed by the Frame Center. And it's a 8-ply mat that
Yep.
I usually don't use, but it,
No, I think it looks great. I think I think that's one of my favorites of your works. I don't know what it is, because I like a lot of the stuff that you do, but maybe it's because that exhibit that it's a painting of was kind of fascinating to me, to have all those pieces in.
and the gates.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite an exhibit. And these things were, I don't know, 12, 14 feet high,
Yep.
maybe even higher, because the people here,
Mm-hmm.
if that's a 6-footer,
Yeah.
then it's at least 14, maybe 15, 16 feet.
You think that helps, the portrait work, does that kind of carry over to like your proportions into, You say you're always measuring, like, nose to eyes. I mean,
absolutely.
That's a skill that kind of translates.
If I'm painting the side of a house,
Mm-hmm.
putting a door in, and putting a figure, the figure has to be pretty much in relation to the size of the door,
Yeah.
and the windows in relation to the size of the door. Or, yeah, you're conscious of that constantly.
Yeah.
Even a car, the car is, depending on whether it's a sedan or an SUV. SUV is as tall as a regular person.
Yep.
A sedan is a little shorter.
Yep.
You get sports cars, so yeah, you're constantly aware of that. And to simplify it, a lot of those things are simply a Kleenex box.
Yeah.
And you look at it and how high is it, how tall is it, to how wide is it?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, some of the questions you're asking yourself as you're starting to do the drawing. And try to accurately portray it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. Your time on those serving as presidents, you're putting that behind you, or is that something that you'd be interested to revisit? No, done your time.
Did my time, and actually, there's nothing that I'm involved with now that would lead to that sort of thing.
But you originally from the area, Jack? I mean, I know that you said 30 years.
I'm a Dorchester kid.
Dorchester, yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in the city. Spent my summers in the Cape on the canal. My grandparents bought a little old house that was the toll taker's house for the bridge that went across the swamp before they built the canal.
No kidding.
Back in the 1800s. My grandparents bought it for some place for the kids to go for the summer. So we did great on the banks of the canal. We had lobster traps in the canal right up in front of the house. Ate lobster 7 days a week, and I hated lobster then. But yeah, so I'm a city kid and a country kid at the same time.
And you did you studied at Northeastern?
I graduated. My degree is from Northeastern, but all of my art classes at the School of the Museum of Fine Arts.
Okay.
I started off taking a bunch of business classes at Northeastern and hated it.
Yeah.
That cut every third class.
Yeah.
I started to take art classes and never cut another class.
Yep.
And I don't recall what they call it, but I got over 56 credits at the museum school, and whether it's a diploma or a certificate or whatever it is. But I transferred all of those over to Northeastern and looked at what I had taken and how many credits I had, and I had a few more credits to take the regular core courses, the psychology and some science classes and stuff like that. So I took those and finally got my degree in 1986 after 20 years of going to school nights.
Yeah.
Degree in fine arts from Northeastern and never took an art class at Northeastern.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And where do you find a lot of your inspiration? I mean, I know that the one I was showing you of from Principal Gallery before we started rolling. That's
Zbukvic.
Yeah.
Joseph Zbukvic's work.
Yeah, and you studied with it. Yeah.
Taken 3 or 4
workshops with him,
including ran one for New England Watercolor Society here in Plymouth.
Yep.
We became pretty good friends.
Yep.
So he got in touch with me and said, I'm doing workshops on the West Coast and I have a week to kill between 2 workshops. I'm coming up for a beer.
Yeah.
I said, Joseph, it's 3,000 miles from the West Coast to Boston. We got driveways that long in Australia.
Yeah.
So he says, yeah, and I'll do a 2 or 3 day workshop while I'm up there and make some money. I said, well, if you're serious, I'll set it up for you.
Yep.
And he said, yeah, I'm serious. So I made arrangements to rent the space at Plymouth for the classroom. And ran the workshops under the name of New England Watercolor Society, made them $5,000.
No kidding. Yeah, no, his work is spectacular, and I see a lot of, like that one I was showing you earlier. I feel like I see, some similarities, and I'm sure that's from, taking classes and working together, and probably a friendship thing too.
Absolutely, but I go out of my way not to paint exactly like him.
Yep.
I don't want to be, Jack Haran, that's another Zbukvic
Yep.
student. So I try to incorporate my own thing into my paintings and avoid painting exactly like him.
Now, how did you get obviously you guys must have a strong relationship if he's traveling 3,000 miles to have that beer with you. How did that begin? Just from
workshops I had taken with him. There was, I think they were both in Spain. Cateches.
Yep.
And just became friendly with him.
Yep.
Was the very first one. He did 2 workshops side by side, so to speak, with a long weekend in between. A friend of mine took the first class, and I signed up for the second one. And I made arrangements with my buddy. I'm going to fly in early. You stick around for the weekend, and we'll go paint together. Well, as things worked out, that weekend there was a convention at the hotel, so they threw us all out, myself, my buddy from England, Peter, and Joseph Zbukvic. And the woman organizing the classes in Spain said, "Do you mind if he joins you for the weekend? I know you and Peter are going up to Cateches. Can Joseph join you?" Sure. So I had the experience of spending a long weekend with just him and my buddy Peter.
Yep.
God rest his soul. Peter's passed away, but
in the watercolor world, is Joseph pretty well established, well known?
Oh yeah, depending on who you talk to, people consider him the best landscape watercolorist alive. And others consider Alvaro Castanet, who I'm also friendly with.
No kidding.
And Alvaro lived in Melbourne for 16, 17 years, and he and Zbukvic are good friends also. So
no kidding. Yeah, small world.
Small world.
And 2 of the best are from Australia.
Yeah.
The camaraderie, I would imagine, in being friendly with other people doing the same thing as you is probably helpful in getting better, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and they both have similar approaches to painting, but entirely different. But it's the way they control the paint.
Yeah,
is very similar, which is the heart and soul of painting and watercolor. A lot of people find it extremely difficult, and you don't want to paint in watercolor. It's too messy. It's too hard to control, but not really.
No. And exclusively watercolors? Do you work in any other medium aside from like the charcoal, doing the drawings, or
charcoal and graphite for the drawings? I do have oils that I will once in a while break out, but almost never. Almost never. Every once in a while, when North River does outside the box, I might do an oil for that. Yeah, so,
just to mix it up.
Because it's outside of the box.
Yeah,
and people don't expect it from me. So.
Yeah, no. When I think of watercolors, and I think of this area, this art scene, you're one of the first ones that come to mind. Like I said, strong work.
Well, all started. I visited the Museum of Fine Arts.
Yep.
And they had Winslow Homer's Blue Boat on display. And there used to be 2 rooms dedicated to works on paper.
Yep.
And I was walking by the corridor, and the Blue Boat was on the wall in the second room, way far away, and it caught my eye and said, "Come here, Jackie."
Yeah.
And I went over, I looked at that, and I just drooled and said, "Someday you're going to paint like this."
Yep.
And that's when I decided to paint in watercolors. And I've been...
Haven't looked back?
Never looked back, no.
That's that's awesome. And you've been a part of this like art community on the South Shore for a long time. What have you thought of like the evolution of it? Is it
It's strong.
moving in the right direction?
Oh yeah, it's strong. There are so many artists in the South Shore that I almost can't go any place without running into somebody
Yep.
that I know through the art world here in the South Shore. Including, I mentioned my friend Peter. Peter, I met at an Alvaro workshop down in South America, and there's another fellow, Roger. And the three of us became good friends, and we'd get together and go someplace every few years. And so Peter, Roger, and I are in Siena, painting by the cathedral in there. And who shows up? Liz Haywood Sullivan.
No kidding.
Hey, what are you doing here? Yeah. Yep.
It is a small world.
Small world. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm painting away, and all of a sudden this head comes up over my easel, and hey, Liz.
No kidding.
She and Michael were both there. She was doing a workshop, and I think Michael was doing a workshop.
No kidding. Yeah, I certainly think that there's no lack of talent and no lack of organizations around this area. And I've only been, a part of it for about, 15 years, maybe 10 years, like very, heavily involved. And, it's nice to see things, progressing and getting better and more people, taking it, art, understanding it and buying art.
Yeah. I moved to Duxbury in 1990, and was asking around about art area, art groups, and that's when somebody recommended North River, and I immediately went up, joined, and found out they had the life drawing class there. Dora Flowers used to run it, and so I started to drop in every Thursday night. I helped Dora out, and she turned it over to me when she was ready to.
She was excited.
Yeah, she found somebody else.
Yeah. Dora was an interesting lady. She was a customer here for ages.
Nice person.
Yeah, she was. Like I said, no shortage of talent around here. And hopefully it just continues to grow and be like to have the South Shore recognized as, for what the quality of artists and artwork that comes out of here.
I agree.
We're working towards that every chance we get here. Trying to push it out there with ideas like this with the podcast, the social media, and just showing the artwork up here as well.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. And your shop here has been doing a great job for years. I think I've been a patron of yours probably most of the 30 years that I've lived here in the South Shore.
Yeah, we've evolved a little bit too.
Sure. Yeah, your upstairs gallery here is excellent.
Yeah. The Hanover Days exhibit's nice. This is like a kind of a local nice community show, I think, and then Dean is putting a press on downstairs, really, feature some artists down there as well. So, maybe we'll get the pleasure of getting some of your pieces up at some point. I recently had seen a show of yours over at the Ventress too. It was the work with your students.
Yep.
Is that a fun show to put together? Or?
Yes and no. When they first asked me to do it, was maybe 2.5, 3 years ago, and I said, sure. And we started to get it all set up, and then they said, oh, they're going to relay the carpet at the library, so you can't have the show.
Yeah.
So they put it off a year, and then some of the people that were going to participate the first year backed out. And so I think I had seven students. Which was good. It was good.
Now the students are people. Some of your students, people show up for like one workshop or one one session, or do you have a lot of people that have been following you and taking the classes for a long time?
There was just a couple that have repeated the class. My class is Watercolor Simplified at North River, Watercolor Demystified at South Shore. Essentially the same.
Yep.
It's intended to help people that have had problems with using watercolor. So it's the whole idea of mixing the right consistency of paint and water and applying it to the paper. And again, I heavily use Zbukvic's technique of where he talks in terms of dry paper, damp paper, moist paper, and wet paper, and the consistency of your paint as tea, coffee, milk, cream, and butter. Tea is very, very weak.
Yep.
And butter is right out of the tube. And he makes you aware of how each one of those consistencies, tea, coffee, cream, milk, and butter, react with the paper, the dry paper, wet paper, moist, damp. Once you get a good handle on that, you can paint watercolor.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes, like the removal of stuff or the lack of of paint, intention, with intention is is something.
Most of this is the white of the paper, intended to show the snow. Some of this is the white of the paper, and some of it is Chinese white to show the snow. But a lot of it is just the white of the paper.
Yeah. No, I mean that's. I think it's important sometimes, just like the lack, or I don't know, when it's done right by somebody that knows what they're doing, you can certainly tell.
Try not to overwork it.
Yeah. I mean, when I obviously look at art a lot, and like when you get in close and you're just looking at it, just that simple, just a touch from like somebody that knows what they're doing's hand is powerful. Now, is it something like this? You've sketched that out, and then you're going back through?
Yep, definitely. And if you look closely, you might be able to make out some of the pencil marks. I typically don't erase the pencil marks.
Yeah, and some of those are, is some left with intention, or?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that makes it a mixed media versus a watercolor.
Yeah.
But definitely.
Well, I mean, almost, all paintings start with like an I don't know, something underneath to kind of give you those guidelines, right?
It's the skeleton. Skeleton of the painting. It's pretty much shows you then. Well, you have an overall idea of what the painting should be like before you start, and then you do the drawing. That's the skeleton, and then apply the paint.
And hope you don't mess up. Yeah. Now, you have a preference? Do you like the figures a little bit better than the landscape work, or is it?
No, I don't. No, although
there's no first and second. There's just the mood you're in that day, or what you have an opportunity to work on.
I do find a lot of times working outdoors very challenging, but it's something that you definitely should do. Nature is the best teacher.
Yep. So you do like a plein air, like with a watercolor as well?
I do. I have my sketchbook over there.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of sketching.
Yep.
Which usually come out beautiful and vibrant,
Mm-hmm.
and then have difficulty when I try to do the sketches larger, getting the same vibrancy
Mm-hmm.
and a painting, working in the studio.
Do you show the sketches too, or are you?
Sure, but I usually leave them in the book. I usually don't take them out. Can we take a break?
Yeah. Well, maybe Maggie, could you do us a favor? Could you just hand Jack that bag? Yeah, no, 'cause just I think of the sketches, and I think of like Jodi's work, like her, and I think she does like, it's like a simple, start to the drawings.
This is I did New England Watercolor Society has what they call painting with nature.
Yeah.
So they had a painting with nature day down in Plymouth. So I went down and did a quickie of the Mayflower.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And then the structure of Plymouth Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the Mayflower Society building. From down at the pier, down at the waterfront, looking up. North Rivers Festival.
The festival, yep. I think I've seen you working on some of those in the years past.
Yeah. And then baby carriages, people. And then I went out to Monhegan.
Yep.
The first week of June, which we've been doing for years. And so everything else here is out on Monhegan Island this past June. This, by the way, is Bogdanoff House.
Yep.
Who was a big name painter. And that's the house he lived in, which has just been electrified.
Yep.
That's the back stairway, still part of the Bogdanoff House.
Mm-hmm. I think someone wants your attention.
Yeah.
Better say hi.
Up at the lighthouse.
Yeah.
I did a whole bunch up there at the lighthouse. And all right. Okay. Be good. Sit.
Yeah, those are nice. So you start in there with in the book the sketches, and then you try to translate them over to the.
Yeah, sometimes.
Whoop.
But I can make mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I leave it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes those mistakes are like such a nice part of the piece.
The lighthouse itself. Lighthouse Keeper's House.
Yeah.
The bell that's out there.
Yeah, those are. I mean, to me, like just those. You start tearing those pages out of the book, and they. Yeah. But is that kind of like it's a diary to you of what you're working on? Those ones are for you. These ones are the ones you.
Yeah, for the most part. On the way back, people that I were with wanted to stop at the store, so this drawing was like a 3-minute drawing that I later just touched up with the paint.
Yeah.
So that whole thing might have been 10 minutes. And then
yeah, those are. How many of those books do you have?
Oh, I'm not sure.
A lot?
Yeah. Not all of them are as good as this.
That one, no. I mean, I don't think you've turned a page that I didn't think was stunning.
All right. Well, I'll quit while I'm ahead.
Yeah, so you've gone through quite a few of those books.
Yep.
And that's the trick, is to get it to translate from that to
To a larger piece.
yeah. And is this a size, like, I feel like I've seen a lot of your works that are, I think the last group we just did were 15 by 20 framed, right? Or
I don't know. Most of them, I think, were 12 by 16,
yep,
which is a nice, convenient pad.
yep,
A quarter sheet is 11 by 15.
mm-hmm.
So a 12 by 16 is a little larger than a quarter sheet.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of shows, size matters.
Yep,
So a lot of times they're looking for something. This is a half sheet.
yep,
Half sheet or larger. But by the same token, I've purchased stuff from the American Watercolor Society that are quarter sheets on 12 by 16s.
yep. Now the New England Watercolor Society, do they have a facility in Plymouth, or is that just part of the guild?
It's part of the guild. They've
Partnered, or
yeah. After I dropped off of the board there,
mm-hmm.
they made arrangements with Plymouth,
Mm-hmm.
The Plymouth Center, to, I guess, rent space. So they have an office, they have a gallery space,
Mm-hmm.
And a permanent address now. So
That's good.
yeah,
And it's probably convenient for Plymouth too, right? Get a
yep. So
a
there's-
base of people that want to come there and, keep some of the walls filled, right?
Yep, and so they've been having like a 2-month show
Mm-hmm.
regularly.
And when they do those shows, is there usually usually like sizes that they work?
No,
No.
no,
Oh.
no. The show that just came down, I had a couple pieces that were quarter sheets,
Mm-hmm.
11 by 15. But no, there are others that had half sheets there.
Nice. Well, I think that we're getting the 2-minute warning here, so I'm excited you came by, and
I'm thrilled
glad you brought the dogs.
I'm thrilled you asked me.
No, my pleasure. I mean, when I think of watercolors, on this area, I mean, I've known you for a long time, been framing your work for even a little longer, and I've always been impressed with what you bring in of your own, what you've brought in of, some of your contemporaries, or I don't know what the right word is there, but some of your friends and people you've done work with. I think my appreciation for watercolor is probably due to seeing some of your stuff and what you've brought in here.
Thank you.
Probably maybe you're my favorite watercolorist.
I like that.
I'm trying to think of some other ones that did you know Gene Conlon? No, he was another artist whose work that I framed a ton. I think he's been gone for a while, but his stuff I really liked. I like your stuff a lot, and I'm glad that we have a good relationship, known you for a long time, and I look forward to framing a lot more of your stuff. Maybe I'll try to end up with one of your pieces at some point too, Jack.
Good. Good.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming. Thanks for bringing the dogs. Big thanks to Maggie for keeping them off of the cords. All right.
Thank you. Excellent.
If you do have the show at South Shore coming up
Tomorrow night,
and
6 through 8 is the opening.
And that'll be on display through
August 18th, I won't say.
And if you're interested in learning about watercolors, North River and South Shore, those are the places to keep an eye out for what you got
classes,
to offer. Awesome. And then your website, Instagram?
I don't have a website.
No
and I think it's just plain Jack Haran, Jack-Haran or something.
Yeah, on Instagram. I mean, you post a fair amount of your work there. So people can see more of it. So.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, maybe we'll talk to Claude, get you a nice artist page too, so you can show some of your stuff off on the Frame Center site, if you're interested.
All right. I'm not sure what that amounts to, but sure.
Yeah, we'll talk it over. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining, and thanks for everyone watching.